Most people think the hardest part about buying a home is finding a house. It's not. For a lot of buyers, the hardest part is getting the money together before they even step foot inside of a property. Down payment, the closing costs, the earnest money deposit, the inspection, the appraisal, the money that you're going to need after you close so you're not house poor. And I get it. Everything's more expensive right now. Rent is high. Groceries are high. Insurance is high. So when you hear people say you need to save in order to buy a house, it can feel almost impossible. I get it. But here's what I want you to understand. You may not need as much money as you think, but you do need a real plan. So in this video, I'm going to break down how much you should actually be saving, the mistakes people make when they're trying to save, and the strategies that I've used personally and seen my clients use to get them in a position to purchase a home. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. My name is Daniel Walcott. I'm a realtor here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. And on this channel, I help buyers, sellers, and investors make smarter real estate decisions. Before we talk about how to save for a down payment, we need to talk about what you're actually saving for. Because a lot of people say, I need to save for a down payment, but what they really mean is, I need to save for the full cost of buying a home. And those are not the same thing. Your down payment is only one piece of the puzzle. For example, if you're using a VA loan, you may be able to buy with 0% down. And even though there's something called a VA funding fee, VA loans don't require monthly mortgage insurance. If you're using an FHA loan, however, the down payment is 3.5% of the purchase price. And conventional loans have options as low as 3%. The down payment is not the only money that you need. You also need to think about closing costs, which can be anywhere between 3 and 5% of the purchase price. That amount is going to depend on the property, the loan type, taxes, insurance, title fees, lender fees, and whether the seller is going to help out with closing costs. Then you have your upfront costs, your earnest money deposit, your home inspection, your appraisal, and sometimes additional inspections, such as a re-inspection, termite inspection, well and sewer. You're going to have moving costs. And then after you close, you still need money left over because now that the house is yours, anything that breaks, it's up to you to fix it. Even if the home is brand new, things are going to break and you want to be in a position to get those things taken care of as soon as possible. So before you say I need $10,000 or I need $20,000, I want you to reverse engineer the goal. If you want to buy a $400,000 house, what type of loan are you going to use? How much is a down payment? What are the estimated closing costs? Are you using a grant? Can you get seller help? What cash do you need before closing? And what do you want left in your account after closing? That's the real number. And this is why I tell buyers all the time, don't just save randomly, save towards a target. Now let's talk about the first strategy. The first strategy is simple. Save your tax refund. I know it's not exciting, it's not sexy, but it works. According to the IRS, the average tax return in 2026 was $3,275. That's not a small amount of money. For some buyers, that can cover your home inspection, your appraisal, and even a major chunk of your down payment. But what happens every year? People get the refund, and before the money even hits the account, it's spent. Vacation, clothes, random Amazon orders, a weekend trip, a new bag, a new phone, furniture for the apartment that you're trying to leave. Come on, let's be honest. And listen, I'm not judging. You work hard for your money, do what you want with it. But if you told yourself this is a year that you're going to buy a home, your tax refund has a job to do before it hits your account. And don't let that money just sit in your checkings account. You have to move it immediately. Put it in a separate high-yield savings account and label that account house fund and make it inconvenient to touch. My high-yield savings account that I have, it takes 3 to 5 days for me to take money out of it. Because if it's sitting in the same account that you use for gas, for groceries, for bills, as soon as you get low, you're going to transfer that money out. And so you want to make it as inconvenient as possible for you to touch that money. The second strategy is to pay yourself first. And people say this all the time, but most people don't actually do it. Paying yourself first means your savings account gets treated like a bill. Your rent gets paid, your car note gets paid, your phone bill gets paid, Netflix gets paid. But for some reason, your savings account gets whatever left over. That's backwards. If you wait until the end of the month to save, most of the time there's not going to be anything left. So instead, when you get paid, the first transfer should go to your house fund. Not after bills, not after eating out, not after seeing how the month goes. That money should go into that account first. And it doesn't have to be this extraordinary amount. If you can save $100 per paycheck, start there. If you can do $250 or $500, then that's where you want to start. The amount that you put in obviously matters because you're going to hit your goal a lot quicker. The habit matters more, especially if you're doing this for the first time. Because once you build that habit, then when you get a bonus or you get a commission or a tax refund, overtime or a raise, you already know what to do with it. That's house money. That's not play money. And that brings me to the third strategy. Regulate your financial thermostat. This is where a lot of people have trouble. You have to stop letting your lifestyle increase every time your income increases. Your job gives you a raise every year, but instead of increasing your savings, your car payment increases, your rent increases, the vacations increase, the food budget increases. And then all of a sudden you're saying, well, I got a raise, but where'd that money go? Or you look back and you realize you're making $50,000 more than you were 3 or 4 years ago, and you still feel that you're not able to save or that you're not being able to catch up. And look, hey, I get it. Inflation is real. Everything is going up. We already mentioned that before. But we can't blame everything on the economy. We got to take some personal responsibility because we can only change what we can change. I can't control the economy. I wish I could. Can't control interest rates. I wish I could. But what we can control is the amount of money that we save. So that's what we're going to do. And the reason we call it a financial thermostat and not a financial thermometer is because with a thermostat, you can control it. A thermometer reacts to the environment around it. You put a thermometer anywhere, if it's 90 degrees, it's going to say it's 90 degrees. But with a thermostat, if I wanted to turn that down to 85, now instead of 90 degrees, it's 85 degrees. So you have some control over your finances. You want to make sure that it's not blown out of proportion every time you get a raise or every time you get a bonus or a large commission check. Because if not, on paper, you're making more money. But in reality, you're going to be in the same exact position. If you get a raise and you're already surviving off your old income, try living off that income for a while longer and send the difference to your house fund. Let's say your take-home pay increases $400 a month. If you automatically send that $400 to your savings, that's $4,800 in 1 year without changing anything else. Now add your tax refund, add your bonus, cut 1 or 2 unnecessary expenses, and now we're cooking. Now we got the down payment, we got the closing costs. If we get a grant or if we get some seller credit, you have a house. And now we're getting somewhere. Let's move on to strategy number 4. The 4th strategy is to reduce the leaks. And this is different from saying stop spending money. I don't like when people give unrealistic advice like don't go out, don't eat out, stop buying coffee. That's not sustainable for most people. We still want to enjoy our lives. We just want to save money. But you do need to identify the leaks. I'm talking about the subscriptions you don't use, the food delivery that's becoming a lifestyle choice, impulse purchases, the I deserve it spending. Look, you do deserve it, but you also deserve a house. I don't use Klarna or any of those kind of pay later apps. I think it's a bad habit and you can easily dig yourself into a hole that's going to be hard to get out of. I also don't like food delivery services, so I don't use, I don't know, is Grubhub still around? I don't use DoorDash. I don't use Uber Eats. 1, they charge way too much just for food delivery. And 2, I don't like multiple people handling my food. You got the chef, then the chef gives it to the person at the front, then the front gives it to the random person who, they only got this job because they have a car. They don't have any experience with food handling. You know what I mean? And if they can, they gonna stick their hands in your fries. I can't do it. That's just me. A lot of people are broke not because of one decision, but because of like 50 small decisions happening every month that are just bleeding you dry. And the amounts are so small, you almost don't even notice it. So for the next 30 days, audit your spending. Pull your bank statements, track every single thing that's coming out, and identify where you can make cuts. Cut as much as you can, and whatever you deem more important than buying a house, keep it. But I don't want you to just cut it out. Whatever subscriptions you're going to cancel, that money now goes towards the house fund. After you buy the house, that could just be discretionary income. But while we have a goal, we want to stay focused on that goal. The 5th strategy is to manage your debt. Now, let me be clear. You can buy a home with debt. You do not have to be debt-free in order to buy a house. You can have student loan debt, credit card debt, medical debt. That's not going to hinder you from buying a house. But debt does affect number 1, your ability to save, and 2, your ability to qualify. If I had 2 people with the same income, the person with no debt is going to have a higher qualification amount than the person who does have debt. If you have high monthly debt payments, it can hurt your debt to income ratio. And if you have high interest credit cards, it can become harder to save because a lot of that money that you're paying every month just goes towards the interest. I've been there. I'm talking from experience. So if you have credit card debt, you need a plan. You can use the snowball method where you pay off the smallest balance first to build momentum. You can use the avalanche method where you focus on the highest interest rate card first because that's usually going to save you the most money. You can look at a balance transfer if that makes sense. You pay a little bit up front, but for the next 12 to 16 months, it's interest free. But you have to have the discipline not to run that card back up. Remember, the goal is not just to pay off the debt so you look better for a lender. The goal is to free up cash flow so saving becomes easier. The 6th strategy is to use down payment assistance. Especially if you're a first-time home buyer, there are a ton of options available out there for you. I don't want you to depend on it as your only plan, though. You guys know I talk a lot about first-time home buyer programs. I wrote an ebook that outlines over 30 programs for first-time home buyers and repeat buyers in the DMV area, but there's also some national programs. You have grants, you have forgivable loans, you have interest-free loans, you have deferred loans, employer assistance programs, neighborhood programs, county programs, state programs. There is no shortage of money available for you to buy a house. But here's the mistake. A lot of people think Cool. Down payment assistance, I don't need to save. Wrong. That is not the mindset I want you to have. Down payment assistance should be a part of the strategy, not the entire strategy. I can't tell you how many people I speak to that say, oh, hey, I want to buy a house. I got $2,000 or I got $5,000. Have I helped people purchase a home with less than $5,000 and even less than $2,000? Yes. But that was because we were able to, use some of the other strategies like program stacking and things like that. They had more money to spend. They had more money saved up. But because of everything that we were able to put together with the, seller credit and lender credit and different things like that, we were able to hit that goal and they were able to save that money instead of spending it on the house. But if that's all you have, it's too risky. I can't guarantee that a seller is going to give a seller credit. It's going to depend on the market. It's going to depend on the house. I can't guarantee you're going to qualify for a down payment assistance program. It's going to depend on your income, the different qualifications that each program has. And so I don't want to put you in a position in which you're out shopping for a home and maybe you told your property manager or your leasing agent that, you're not going to renew, and we can't get you into a position in which you're ready to buy. So I want you to be in a position where down payment assistance helps you, not where it saves you. There's a big difference. The seventh strategy, and we touched on this earlier, is separate your house money from your regular money. Don't keep your down payment assistance money in your checking account that you use every day. Open a separate high yield savings account and title it house fund, whatever. When money has a name, it has a purpose. And when it has a purpose, you're less likely to touch it. It's funny because you guys can do this for vacations, but when it comes to house, it's like, I don't really want to do this. But when it's vacation time, you got Bahamas money, you got Paris money, you got Madrid money. Hey, I ain't touching the Bali money. I need you to do the same thing for the house. And I'm making a requirement for that account to be a high yield savings account. Don't get lazy on this. The money that you put in there can earn interest. You're not going to get rich from the interest, but if the money's going to be sitting there, let it work for you. The more interest you make, the less time it's going to take you to save. The next strategy is not available to everybody, but it can save you a lot of money in a short period of time if you're able to execute it. The eighth strategy is to temporarily change your living situation. If you have the option to move in with family or back in with your parents or get a roommate, this can be one of the fastest ways to save because housing is usually one of your biggest expenses. So if you can cut that expense down for 6 or 12 months by sleeping on the couch, you can make a lot of progress quickly. And I know moving back home feels like you're going backwards, but sometimes you have to take one step back strategically in order to move 5 steps forward financially. The key is this: if you reduce your rent or whatever your housing payment is by $1,000 a month, that money is not lifestyle money. It has to go into the housing fund. If you're going to make an agreement to take on a roommate or to move in with a friend, you got to let them know, hey, I have a strategy. I have a plan. This is a 3-month thing, a 6-month thing. I'm going to pay you a little bit, but whatever that little bit is less than what I'm paying in rent. That delta goes towards the housing fund. That brings me to strategy number 9. The 9th strategy is to make more money. At some point, we got to be honest with ourselves. You can only cut so much. Yes, budgeting matters. Yes, discipline matters. And cutting expenses certainly helps. It's what we spent the majority of this video talking about. But sometimes the issue isn't just spending, it's income. Cutting expenses is defensive. Getting more money and bringing in more income, that's offensive. You got to do both in order to win the game. So if your goal is to buy a home, this may be the season in which you pick up an extra shift. You take on a side hustle. You ask for a raise. You ask for some overtime. You freelance, drive Uber, do deliveries, do consulting, create something. I don't know. There's a ton of options out there for you. Whatever skills you have, now's the time to monetize it. Do you do hair, photography, music? Can you babysit? And I'm not saying you have to do it forever, but if you have a 12-month goal, then you just might need a 12-month adjustment. An extra $500 a month is $6,000 a year. That could be the difference between waiting another year to buy a home or buying this year. And that brings me to strategy number 10. The 10th strategy is to stop saving blindly and talk to a lender early. One of the biggest mistakes buyers make is saying, I'm going to wait till I save more money before I talk to a lender. And I get it. Some people don't feel prepared. They don't want to run their credit. They don't want this, or they feel like they don't want to waste the lender's time. But how are you going to know how much to save if you haven't talked to a person who can actually run the numbers for you? Real numbers. You may think you need 30,000 when you really need 15. You may think you need 10,000 when you really need 25. You may qualify for a program that you didn't even know existed. Or you have something on your credit that needs fixing that no amount of money is going to help you with. So talk to a lender early, not necessarily to buy tomorrow, but to include them on the plan that you have. Because you need to know your price range, you need to know your estimated monthly payment, your estimated cash to close, what your credit looks like in a lender's eyes. we can see our consumer credit, but there's a different number and scores that they see on their end. They can let us know what our debt to income ratio is and what it should be and what programs might be available for you. That way you're not guessing, you're working with real numbers. So quick recap. If you want to save for a down payment, first figure out the real target number. Then save your tax refund, pay yourself first, avoid lifestyle creep, audit your spending and reduce the leaks, create a debt payoff plan, use down payment assistance strategically, separate your house money from your everyday money, consider changing your living situation if that option's available to you, find ways to increase your income, and most importantly, talk to a lender early so you know exactly what number you're working towards. Because buying a home is not just about wanting it, it's about preparing for it. And I don't want you sitting on the sideline for the next 3 years because you thought it was impossible when you really just needed a plan. If you're thinking about buying a home in DC, Maryland, or anywhere in the DMV, and you want to start putting together a real game plan, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help figure out what steps make sense for your situation. And if this video helped you at all, do me a favor, like, subscribe, drop a comment below, and most importantly, share this video with somebody who needs to see it. As always, my name is Daniel Walcott, your resource for all things real estate in the DMV. I'll catch you guys next time.